Hey, you're here for the very first Hangoutlander at the Cool Table. Get ready to get in the waterways with us and the Fiery Cross. I'm Beth, the host of Hangoutlander, which is a weekly recap show for Starz' Outlander. We've been recapping and chatting about Outlander since it was announced. It was coming to TV in 2013 at our former home. That's normal. And now we're doing it right here at the Cool Table. So tonight we are starting out a book club discussion about the Fiery Cross, which is the fifth book in the Outlander series, but just part one because we're not sadists. We've all read the book before. So tonight we'll be discussing what it's like to hop back into Galveston's world after a long hiatus, the perils of 18th century camping, and the difference between Jamie Fraser and Roger Mack. There are several of them, and they are big. So let's say, hey, everybody. These are my girls. You're going to see them in just a second. I want you to say, hey, and then tell me what was the last time you read The Fiery Cross, and how long did it take you to read The Fiery Cross? Amy, can you get us started?
So this is my third time reading The Fiery Cross. The first time, I'm pretty sure I read it really quickly because I just read all the books like boom, boom, boom. I couldn't get enough of this world. And then the second time I was starting to be like, okay. And so this time it didn't take me that long to read because I'm not going to lie, I skimmed a lot. So.
Well, I don't blame you. Julie, say hi.
Hi, everybody. Julie. The last time I finished The Fiery Cross. So I'm planning on finishing it this year. The last time I opened The Fiery Cross was 2015. And how I know that is because this is my plane ticket from Switzerland from 2014. And I remember using it as a bookmark and trying to read this book while in my old classroom when I was a teacher. So I was using it. I opened it and I went, oh, there's my plane ticket. So,
it's been a while.
It's been a while.
Karen, say hi.
Hi, Karen. It's awesome to see everybody again. I read it first when it originally was released, and then I reread on both of my deployments. So the first reread was in 2010, and then again in 2016. And I would just offer that aside from being on aircrafts at 35,000 feet, there's nothing that will force you to get through a book, any book, than that being the only book you have and you're trapped in the middle of the desert. So I'll just leave that there.
Did you you took it on Kindle and they were the only books you had?
The second deployment, everything was on Kindle. The first one, it was literally like going to the USO and like cobbling everything together. And then oddly, you would find other Outlander fans in Baghdad and you would trade books. So you would trade up and trade around and indoctrinate everybody else into the series.
That's really cool.
What year was this book published?
Let's find out.
Let's
guess.
find out.
96. I'm going to guess it's 96. 2001. I was totally wrong. Wow.
Apparently, I bought my first Kindle copy on October 16th, 2009.
Oh.
Wow. I started reading the books in 2009. So I picked up The Fiery Cross almost directly after reading Drums of Autumn. I mean, I read through the first 4 books. I didn't read anything else while I was reading those first 4 books. And this was like 2009 to 2010. And I was completely obsessed. And I picked up The Fiery Cross, and I am not kidding. I did not get to the end of part 1. I just set it down. My copy is kind of like stained and gross because it was, which I never do to books, but because it was just on my nightstand for 18 months. It just sat there. It got stuck to the paint of my nightstand. It was very disgusting.
How many dirty Kleenex did that book see?
I don't know.
Mine actually has a Post-it note from my to-do list for my classroom. It says, number 1, vocab tests. Number 2, seating charts with it crossed out. So apparently I did my seating chart. And 3 is a Target PO for my school. So not crossed out. Don't know.
How long did it take you to read it, Julie? Do you think
it didn't?
You didn't finish it.
I didn't. I couldn't get through part 1. We used to do in my classroom. Sorry to bore everybody. Silent sustained reading, and my whole thing was I want to demonstrate silent sustained reading to my students. So I was going through these books, and literally, I'm reading the first part, and I was like, Oh my God. I don't even know what I just read. I was
Yeah,
like,
it doesn't really lend itself to a lot of silent sustained reading, which
no.
okay, so this lends really well into the first thing that we want to talk about is this book worth reading? So we're fans of the show. We're covering the show. We're talking about the show. We're reading this in preparation for the show that's coming out on Starz Season 5. If you are a casual book reader or you're a casual show fan, would you recommend that anybody read this before the show? Or do you recommend anybody read it at all? Maybe somebody should just watch the show instead. What are your thoughts?
Oh, I would say read it. If it gives you nothing but the ability to bitch and moan and complain with the rest of us about how interminable some of the parts of it are. But like I tweeted the other day, or it might have just been yesterday, even as I kind of hate it, I still love it. Like I'm still in the world and I'm still with Jamie and I do still like Claire's bitchy point of view. So yeah, is it like great reading? No. But if you want to spend time with the Frasers, then yes, read it. Yep. And I do think that anything in the books is still better than the TV show.
I'm with Amy. I'm a firm believer that you should read it, whether you read it right now, hopefully you're reading it along with us, or after the show. But I am a firm believer in reading a book because we all know the TV show can only do so much, can only cover so much. And this book definitely covers a lot. And you definitely get that sense of when I started reading it, I fell back in love with Jamie Fraser. I laughed at certain parts. It brought me back to that world. So I definitely say read it, but go in knowing that you're going to have to struggle a little bit. And sometimes the struggle is real, but struggle is well worth it sometimes.
See, I'm fully of the opinion that if I were not doing this for you and for our friends online, and we were not doing all of this together, I would not recommend reading this book. For as a show fan, like I'm at the point now where I'm a show fan, I'm a show fan, but like, I think I wouldn't want to read it because the show is going to deviate so much at this point, and maybe I want to still be surprised by something, or maybe I don't want to be disappointed. And so, if it were up to me completely, and I weren't doing this, I wouldn't read it this time.
I agree with that.
If I could compare it to the show because each season has been so different. Like even just among the show, each season has been so different.
You mean each episode has been so different within the episode?
Each scene in some cases. It's been. I don't want to use the word uneven, but it's been. It's kind of up and down and all over the place. Pacing's been awkward in some. The Fiery Cross is unlike any of the other books in the series. To your point about sort of density, and the geography of it is small. The story is relatively small. It's like in a trilogy, like on steroids. So it's odd that it's 780 pages or whatever it is, and you could actually do a summary of it in 3.
Yeah. Okay. You're cutting it out. I'm assuming that you're saying it's 780 pages. So, and you could do summarize it very, very, very quickly. Cause not a lot happens, which is what I think is the reason I don't remember about what goes on. Like when I think about the Fiery Cross, I'm like clouts, a microscope. That's all I know. I don't have a whole lot of memories about what's going on in this book. And part of that is the way that Diana writes. So as I was going through this, I was like, oh, there she is. Sometimes you get a book and you're in it for the characters. You see the characters, you're totally into it. And then the writer pops out. The author just jumps out at you and there's the author right there. Diana does that so many times in just this first section. I'm like, oh, there's Diana Gabaldon in this book. It's not Claire's voiceover. It's not Roger's point of view. It's Diana. And I wanted to do a cute little segment where we talk about our favorite little Diana-isms. Just a little snippet of something she might say that hit you about the face and you knew that it was Diana Gabaldon in your face? Y'all, anybody have one?
Oh, I have one. Let me turn on my Nook. She has to mention this every book because she must have read it once, that this happens when you die. Oh crap! I missed it. I moved it. But basically, when they're accosting the thief taker, and Jamie threatens him, with basically like, "Well, we'll kill you, but you'll also lose your bowels, and won't that be just so embarrassing for you?" She never fails to mention if someone's going to be killed or hung, that they always seem to lose their bowels upon death, and it's like her favorite scientific fact. Which a quick Google. It is 100% true. It doesn't happen every time. It's not like your sphincter just opens up and you just lose everything.
I mean, I hope not.
Do you care? I mean,
what?
Would you care? I mean, you'd be dead.
Probably not.
No, I wouldn't care. But I also do care. I'm vain enough to when I die, I don't want like someone to find my body and I'm sitting in a pile of my own shit.
Chances are I'd haunt the people, my loved ones,
like
and I don't want to hear when they sit around talking about me, being like, "Remember when she shit her pants when she died?" I don't need that. I need nothing but good things. Martyr me. I don't need that.
Yeah, it's like when somebody tells you you're gonna have a baby and you're gonna be like pooping all over the place.
Yeah.
The last thing that you want to happen.
No one tells you that.
No,
it's a conspiracy.
Well.
A-holes.
I was fully aware that it was going to happen. My friend was the head nurse, and she was like, "This is going to happen," and then it didn't happen, and I was like, "You're a liar," and she was like, "Well, never." I was like, "Go in prepared." Well, so go ahead, Julie.
Speaking about so I'm going to piggyback onto Amy's, and for me, how I was like, "Oh, welcome back, Diana," or at least welcome back, Julie, to Diana's writing. Was when she literally went on in an entire page. It was within the first chapter and a half on Jemmy's poopy diaper and his baby boner. And honestly, I was like, it could have just been, I changed, Jemmy shit his pants.
Yeah.
I changed his diaper. That's it.
She even calls her hand in that scene uses her hand like a prophylactic.
Yes. And in fact, she even said, then she compliments Jamie. It's where she goes, "Oh," when he's like, "Oh, you can't control it." Because Jamie looks over her shoulder and she goes, "A talent that improves with age, I dare say." So
it's disgusting. That's her grandson. He's a baby.
Over their grandchild, talking about Jemmy's boners compared to Jamie's boners later on. And I'm just like,
it's gross.
Oh, happy grandparent day.
My least favorite thing that I read, or the first thing that I read, just the phrase, and I was like, Diana Gabaldon, what are you doing? She said, she's talking about scents, of course, like different odors that are floating around. And she names a couple of odors. And then the last one is effluvium of diaper. Effluvium of diaper. What? And never has anyone ever needed that phrase. And she's got
never
it.
Needed that word.
No.
Effluvium of diaper. I just wrote in my notes, get the fuck out of here, Diana. Effluvium of diaper. It's ridiculous.
She put this when Roger and Bree on their wedding night, and they're like, they just had sex. Or they're getting ready to have sex. And she's like, "Will you sing to me, Roger?" And it's a beautiful moment. And then she writes this: "Now the air was live with pine and juniper." And you're like, that's so beautiful.
Sure.
Wait, because it gets worse. Because nothing can ever stay pure. Spiced with the smoke of smoldering fires. Oh, so romantic. And the faint sweet note of baby shit.
Well, but
I have never have I experienced the sweet odor of baby shit and been like, yeah,
I'm just hoping Bath and Body Works does that for a candle for next season.
I just don't understand. I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. She could have used, breast milk or something. Like I'm sure their sex den smells like breast milk a little bit.
Which,
Throw that in there. That does smell sweet.
Yes,
That does smell good.
And in fact, Roger is waiting for Bree to essentially pump out her breast milk.
Sure.
And so,
but no, just the shit.
No, just baby
Kills
shit
me.
everywhere, flung about the walls or the tent, whatever.
Bananas. So later on, we're going to give you a couple more Diana-isms or some of the other things that she describes that need no description, things we don't really need to hear about. But I wanted to talk about why we love Jamie so much. I mean, from the very first scene, I was back with him. He was my man, and I'm back with him. I'm so happy to be there. And there's something about like, it's the perfect start to a new book of hers. She doesn't really do the whole thing that a lot of other authors do where they like go back and kind of catch you up on what's going on. There's a little bit of that like kind of later on, but the very beginning is just you're waking up with Jamie. It's warm and comforting and slow and it's like returning home. It's wonderful. I loved it. Very first scene. I'm so there for it. I want to wake up in bed with Jamie. It's wonderful.
He always knows what's going on. He has like 100 eyes in the back of his head, it feels like. He knows when somebody's looking for him. He knows when to, scooch away. He knows when to play grab ass with Claire. Like he's just like a man of impeccable timing.
Well, except he didn't know that people did it fronting each other.
Well, now he's learned.
I think his powers of observation are a little suspect.
As he gets older, yes.
As he's gotten older, yes, it's gotten a little better, but he's doofus.
I guess like whenever Claire's trying to tell him something, like she's in the know about, who's looking for him around the camp. Like he's already like 4 steps ahead of her.
Right. He's the go-to. And I really appreciate that. And I'm a strong feminist. I believe I can stand on my own, but there is something about a man that is the go-to. Everybody goes to him. When there's something going on, they run to him. They ask him for advice. They ask him for favors. He is that go-to man. And there is something just attractive about that he can carry the weight of his own family and the weight of others and be clear-minded, and he's quick-minded. And that's what I love about him. And that's definitely what was in this chapter.
Yeah. He's the leader in this one. Mm-hmm. There's little things too. Like I like the fact that Jamie is always coming up behind Claire, like all the time. Like he's been listening to her no matter what else is going on. Like he's always got like an ear tuned to what she's doing. And then he's just like back at her shoulder and he's like answering the question she was asking somebody else. And it's just like, it's a whole ass mood. Like this whole thing where Jamie's just like totally just has a whole ear and eye cocked to everything that she's doing, but not in a creepy way, but like in a super hot way where he's going to just be capable and then just like be coming in with a super like awesome quip. I love it. I love every second of it. I want more of it. Yes. Yeah.
James Hottie.
He's so confident. It's ridiculous.
And that's what I think just is so attractive about that, because it's not in your face confident. It's I'm going to show you how I'm confident. I'm not going to tell you how I'm confident. I'm going to show it to you.
Yeah. And it's mixed with like this little bit of, he still has that virginal thing going on. Mm-hmm. Like there's that whole moment where he's unsure and kind of timid about like her sex post menopause. Like she's not menopausal. She's like premenopausal right now or whatever. And he's like, it's one of the things that makes him great. He hasn't lost like those virginal sensibilities that kind of make him considerate to her and unsure about how things are going to go, but he's still hot at the same time. It's like a super good mix of the stuff that I want in a dude.
Right. Right. He's not afraid to talk to her about it. He's not afraid to ask those questions. Like he talks about like Abraham and Sarah and, well, she wasn't supposed to have kids and she had kids. And what about you? And, you haven't really, do you want to, are you going to still lay? That was the other thing I loved about him. We know he's hot. We know he's good looking, but he's still like, do you still want to lay in my bed? Like,
oh yeah, he's like unsure and cute.
And you're just like, of course. She's like, I will definitely lay in your bed. And I'm screaming, I will lay in your bed.
Who would not? I don't like it when he does that, like, I'm not going to look at a scrawny girl across the street thing. That pisses me off as a scrawny person. Saying that, JV.
A little Mike Pence-ish, actually.
I really hate it.
And as a girl with curves, I'm like, thank you, Jamie.
It bugs me.
He
Good
does
thing in
like
the show they
that
hired a
part.
skinny model.
Yeah, and
Right.
Karen, are you saying it's Mike
blue
Pensy,
eyes.
like because he's
Yeah.
only got eyes for his wife or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, he is a little prudish
Yeah.
at times. And actually, in the last chapter of the section that we were assigned to read tonight,
Assigned.
he goes through that duality
Sorry.
of his love, attraction, and lust for his
Mhm.
wife. And he doesn't want to
Yeah.
be lost in that lust because he feels that that's criminal.
Yeah.
I don't think she actually said criminal, but he equates that with, raw anger in some ways and violence. And he doesn't want to lose himself in that. And he
Yeah.
respects her too much. He wants to always cherish her and not let his base self go and just, basically destroy her with his
Right.
lust. I like that.
Well,
Yeah.
I also love the fact that his confession, which was just a ruse for the children to be baptized, his confession was, "Oh, I've had impure thoughts," but they're of a butter churn that reminds him of his wife.
Mhm.
They're literally of something that just happened to them. Like it's not just like
Exactly.
he's just like making something up. I'd like to see Claire like this, like they did that last week.
Exactly. So I was just like, and she's like, "You're describing me. Oh my God, you literally were telling them about us." And he's like,
That one's a little bit too far for me. Like if he's going to do the whole confession thing, like I think I would actually appreciate it more if he was like a little bit naughtier. Like it's not about Claire. It's not about something they actually did, but he's like thinking ahead or thinking about somebody else. Just something a little naughtier than like Claire at the butter churn. But I like the way he describes it. That's fine. But I just was like thinking, oh, he's got like a little, milkmaid he's after or whatever. But, I'm alone in my principles on that. I did cry in this section. If anybody didn't have any tears, I cried for the first time when, what's his name? I can't even remember because there's so many men in this section, but he starts describing
Oh,
Jamie at Culloden.
Oh no, then
Yeah.
never mind. I
"Yeah,
thought you meant the woman who basically was put out of her home and went to die.
Oh, I don't care about her. I'm talking about Jamie still.
That's
sorry.
Roger's thing anyway.
But I mean, like when that guy starts talking about Jamie saving him at Culloden, he's
Yeah.
like 11 or whatever. I guess it's the lieutenant.
It's
And,
Archie Hayes, right?
It may be. Again, there's too many people in this whole section.
There's an Archbug, Archie
matter.
Hayes.
that was how you also knew you were in a Diana Gabaldon novel. There's
Yeah.
so many people."
But he talks about how he looked like a man who was ready to meet his death, and I just lost it because Jamie couldn't handle it, and he was like, "Yeah, I don't remember that, but even what he just said, that was too much." And I was like, "Oh, Ryan,
Aw.
I love him. Why is he so good?" And in contrast, why is Roger not good? I would just like to say, as we start this section of the talk, I am not a Roger fan, and that has nothing to do with the show, although he sucks even more in the show. The guy in this book is not great, and I want to discuss it. I would like to know how many of you
I
watching
agree.
actually like Roger and how many of you don't, because I do not like him at all.
Wait, watching the show, like
Watching
Roger?
us right now.
Okay.
But that's a good question for anybody we're having a hard time like looking at Twitter at the same time that we're talking. But like, who likes Roger?
I
And
like
why?
Roger.
But why? Tell me why.
Well, first of all, it helps that I'm picturing him as Diana described him, like a hot ass pirate with like guy liner on all the time. So that's partly of why I like him.
I cannot imagine. Give me an actor.
Poldark.
What? Okay, yeah. I've always pictured him as David Ferrer, which is an obscure tennis reference. He's Spanish. I'll send you a photo, but
Okay.
trust me, it's wank wank. It's hot. I hate Bree so much that I just forgive Roger for like putting up with her. I know that we talked earlier, like maybe my whiskey's getting to me. I forgot what I was gonna say. I don't mind him. I just feel like he's kind of like a fumbling dude who's in the presence of Jamie Fraser, who just does the best that he can. And he's also struggling with. I feel really This is going to sound terrible when it comes out of my mouth, but he's dealing with becoming a father of a child that he's not sure if it's his or not. And he's also dealing with the victim, a rape victim, Bree, which is very hard to know how to navigate those waters. Sure. But I also feel like when you're in his head, you get a good sense of it's kind of tearing his guts apart, like to quote Jamie, or you're ripping my guts out. Especially when she's like, oh, well, I went to see Stephen Bonnet by the by, and I told him he might be the dad. Like, I've totally felt really bad for him in those moments. He's just dealing with a lot of bullshit. And he just wants I think he just loves the baby, and he wants the baby to be his, and it just sucks for him.
I'm with Amy on that, because I think when you compare any man to Jamie, and think about your husbands and your boyfriends and your partners, when you compare any man to Jamie, and she wrote a really good man, that man is going to fall short always. And I think where Jamie is the ideal and the epitome, and he is just what we all want, like that's perfection, even with his faults. I think Roger is the realistic interpretation. And I'm with Amy on the sense of, I'm not in love with Roger. I didn't mind him in this chapter. And I felt that I was telling the ladies before we started this chat that in my family, my great-grandfather adopted a baby boy that was not his, with my great-grandmother, and he took on the surname he took on my grandfather's name, or my great-grandfather, excuse me. And there's always, I didn't know my great-grandfather, but there was always that sense of, I love this child is mine, but I do want children of my own with this woman that I love. And so I don't necessarily fault Roger for that.
Yeah.
Is it perfect? No, not at all.
It's not really a comparison for Jamie for me.
Right.
I'm going to be honest.
No.
Like, yes, there's a big, huge juxtaposition there that's just like, holy shit, like nobody can compare to Jamie, but whatever. Like Duncan Innes, he doesn't bug me. I'm sure that his relationship with Jocasta is perfectly fine. I'm irritated with Roger for specific reasons.
Right.
One. They're sweet in their first chapter where they're talking, they're, getting married. It's sweet of him to like want to go and get a ring for her, get a gift for her. But the fact that he cannot think of something to get her is bullshit.
Yeah.
They literally live with nothing. How can you not think of a practical gift for the woman that you love when she has nothing? Are you fucking kidding me? And then what he gets her is a ring that's going to turn her finger green. That's not practical, nor is it helpful. Why did he get it? Because he's possessive and he wants her finger to be green in case the ring comes off. What is going on? He is gross. This is stupid. What?
You think Diana wrote a subplot, a subversive element in this story about possession, and the metaphor for possession is not a green light at the end of the dock like it is in The Great Gatsby. It's actually a green residue around Bree's ring finger.
He says it though.
He says it.
The ring that does show possession, but Beth actually said it was the turning of the finger green, which it's a lot.
He goes on and on about how he feels about possessing her in this particular section. And he says that if the ring comes off, it's going to be green. And then everybody will know that she's his. I'm not saying it's like this big, huge theme in his like character or anything. It's just dumb.
What did you think of the scene between him and Jocasta? Like when he kind of went toe to toe with her?
Okay. Yes. Here's another thing. Jocasta is badass. Jocasta is blind and several times divorced. And yes, I'm not into like her being a slave owner or whatever, but she still like owns her own land and gets to like give it to whoever she wants. The fact that he is antagonizing her instead of just being like, yes, ma'am, just say yes, ma'am, and get your ass out of there. Everything that he's thinking, like she went and talked to everybody. She can't figure out what branch of her own family I'm saying I'm from. She's a Mackenzie of Leoc. He's told everybody he's a Mackenzie of Leoc, and she can't find anybody who knows who the fuck he is. He should know that he should be totally deferential to her, if not for any other reason than to prove that he can be. that he's not conning them. Why would he like get all up in her face? That's so stupid. It's so short-sighted. She's like the matriarch. Shut your mouth. Say yes, ma'am.
And for me,
makes him sound like he wants the land for himself. That's what it made him sound like. Shove it up your ass.
Well, when he told her, he told her, my wife does not want it and my son will not have it, and then you find out like you like Jamie and Claire were like, dude, she's playing you. She was testing you. And you passed a test because you didn't want her money.
What test did he pass?
Essentially, Jocasta, I thought
because he said he doesn't want money?
Jocasta was seeing if he wanted Bree for the money.
Yeah, I think that's
lost
right.
his temper. No, he lost his temper. Jocasta may have had that plan in place, but his reaction to her is so antagonistic. I would be like, this dude is a loose cannon.
But I think Julie's right in the sense that was the true test, because Diana telegraphed it pages before by having him wonder about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and it's also because Jocasta pushes that button and she hits that nerve because she says it's only to be understood that a man might not feel just so kindly toward a bairn his wife's born to another. And it hit a nerve in him. And
oh yeah, it's a huge nerve.
And I was just like, when I read it, I even went, damn shit. Girl.
Yeah, and if I were Jocasta, I would be pushing those buttons to see what his character is like. And his character is left wanting. He has an anger management issue. He should not have told an aging, blind landowner matriarch of his family to shove up her money up her ass.
She is a slave-owning rapist. Fuck that bitch.
Thank you.
He doesn't care about that. He doesn't care about that one bit.
And
regardless of Jocasta's character, she still holds a place in that family that is high above his, and he should have deference for her as an elder, if nothing else.
I don't think he has respect for anybody in
Bree,
that time.
but I don't like Bree, or Bree doesn't like me. I was like,
I am aghast that anybody's okay with how he talked to Jocasta.
I'm not. Listen, she pushed a button. I'm not saying I agree with it. She pushed a button, though.
She should have taken it farther, in my opinion. She should have kicked his ass out and been like she should have told everybody he was like double dealing, dirty dog, get him off the mountain. Like that's what I would have done if I were Jocasta. Like get his ass off Mount Helicon. He is not a Scot. That's what I would have done.
And not a Catholic Scot to boot.
Exactly. So this is not my only problem with Roger. My other problem with Roger, other than the fact that like every time you're in his head, he's kind of like there's a huge distance between him and Brianna. There's this big distance between what he says and does to her and what he's thinking. He is almost deceptive. Nothing is straightforward with him. So when you're in his head and he's thinking about her, or he's thinking about Jimmy, or he's thinking about whatever's going on, he's coming up with a way to manipulate her into the reaction that he wants. It's real annoying, and I don't like it. So even when he's sweet and romantic with her later on, if he says something sweet or calls her hen or whatever, it is colored by the fact that you have this distance in what he's really thinking about. I don't like I just don't feel like she's writing him like we should be rooting for him.
No, he's the only character of the main four that is lost the entire arc of his character. He has obviously many iterations, and I struggle with Roger because I've read the series so many times. So even when I reread The Fiery Cross, I'm thinking of him and what I see him do and how he reacts to things in future books. But even just in isolation, Roger doesn't know who he is, right? He wouldn't have gone on this grand adventure. He wouldn't have chased after this young American girl if he was secure in who he was.
The fact that he ever let her leave to begin with. Yes.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, so I think that unlike Claire, who knows exactly who she is, even though she was a nomad from the time that her parents died, Jamie has had so many disguises, and it's often part of his character. He is so many things to so many people, right?
Yeah.
And Bree is just, I know there's the I hate Bree school of thought, but she is who she is. She knows who she is, and she is true to herself the whole time. He is the only one that is, I don't think, is ever really sure of himself. And you see him kind of try a lot of different things. It's like, dude, pick a major. You got to graduate in 4 years. Pick a fucking major. That's kind of how I feel about Roger.
Yeah. His insecurity about what Jamie wants from him And then just like the immediate turn on a dime when he's like, you know, Captain Mackenzie or whatever. And he's like, oh, I get to be something. It's just so, I mean, it's just so dumb. I mean,
Listen, he just wants to be part of the cool
self-worth.
table. He wants to be part of Jamie's cool table. Damn it.
That's Julie. That's right. He always wants Jamie's approval.
Yeah.
Who doesn't? Like everybody does, and rightfully so. He's Jamf, right? Everybody wants that. But
Yeah.
Roger is thirsty.
yeah.
You know what, though? I'm going to say this. I'll call it. I think I'd be thirsty for Jamie, too.
Well, me too, but a different kind of thirsty. We're
Well, yeah.
allowed to be
I
thirsty.
mean,
Right?
yeah. Yes. A classy thirsty.
Yeah, he
Thank
wants-
you very much.
He wants things for himself in ways that nobody else is really, their point of views at least, are not after that. Claire's, you know, she wants to help other people, and Jamie is obviously in it for other people, but Roger is in it for himself. What is he going to get out of it? If he stays here and he's Jem's dad, like, what is that going to mean for him? If Brianna is happy with the gift that he buys, what's that going to mean for him? Like, everything is about him, and nothing is like outward. How can I be a good father? What can, you know, what he's never thinking about Jem in any real way. Like, he's not really thinking about him ever. And so it's just like a function of, he's just so selfish, and it's not like he's a super young man. He's not 18. Isn't he like 30?
At least.
So it's frustrating that he's so immature about who he is. You're very like correct about that.
And it
And I
doesn't
think
help that
Go ahead.
Diana ends this part with their kind of honeymoon, and Bree's sitting there, and Bree's like, okay, I'm not like, we got to finally
Okay.
see.
Yes. This is my biggest problem with Roger. Roger
Like-
cannot get the job done.
No, he didn't get the
Roger
job done.
cannot get the
He
job
did not
done.
deliver. He did not deliver.
He even says in this stupid section where they're having sex, having their honeymoon or whatever, that he has not touched her nipples
Nope.
since the first time.
He's afraid to, actually.
What is happening? She is sitting there frustrated, quietly, like taking care of herself.
Engorged.
Yes.
Also.
Yeah.
Yes.
And instead he
they-
sings the Beatles.
No, okay, whatever. He's ignoring her while she's like letting all of that milk go, which is ridiculous. He should have pulled a Frank and just like latched on. And number two, like after it's over, she's laying there quietly taking care of herself so as not to like wake him, perfectly still taking care of herself. And he is completely oblivious. And that scene is juxtaposed with Jamie, the very next scene, quietly laying in bed, but relaxing his body on purpose, not to pretend with his wife. Like Roger has been doing this whole section, pretending constantly, coming up with deceptions in his mind. But because he doesn't want her to worry, they know each other so well on such a soul level that he wants her to know that his body is relaxed and his mind is just alive. It's a beautiful juxtaposition, but it's also really sad for Bree and Roger, for Bree specifically, that she's tense and awake for the wrong reasons, because she can't tell her husband something, because they aren't close, because they don't have a soul connection. And here we have Jamie and Claire so entwined that he's like, I can relax my body. I can be here just so that she knows that she doesn't have to be here with. It's like a beautiful juxtaposition, but it's so frustrating because it makes Roger's just the worst.
Claire even falls asleep with her hand on Jamie's. Did I read that right? Where
Nope.
Claire, like, it ends with Claire just essentially touching Jamie's erection and then falls gently asleep.
Doesn't she have horrible cramps too, though? I mean, isn't that why he doesn't want to like force
Jamie?
her? For lack of a
No,
better
I don't
word.
think she does have.
He's thinking about like, he knows that she's on her period and he's like, oh, we can do this. Like, we've done it before, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But she's
also
been in pain that day. She's had cramps.
a little bit. Yeah. She doesn't like kind of go crazy with her willow bark tea or anything. She's just she's actually kind of fine. But like, it's not really what's on his mind. And the point is that their intimacy goes beyond that. And Roger's intimacy he's completely unaware that his wife is totally unsatisfied. Hasn't even tried. He sucks. Roger sucks.
And right here it says for Jamie, what he felt now was not lust, not quite, nor was it even the need of her, the wanting of soul's company. He wished to just cover her with his body, possess her. So for Jamie in that moment, he's like, I'm not here, even though my body is telling me do this. emotionally, I'm not here right now. And I just want to be with you.
There's sense that ending scene is about intimacy, and it's about his feeling satisfied in his position in the world. He's a father, he's a laird, he's a grandfather. He has all these people after him. They just did the big old, like, the Frasers of the Ridge are here, and he's like feeling super, satisfied in that, and also wary about what's coming in the future. But like that's the intimacy that's going on there. And it's just the fact that it comes right after this scene of forced non-intimacy with Roger and Bree is like hugely telling. Roger doesn't get the job done, and he doesn't deserve Bree. I mean, I don't even like Bree, and that's probably because I don't like Bree on the show, because this Bree I'm perfectly down with.
Yeah.
But I really don't feel like that Roger deserves her at all. Like, I think his head sucks. I think everything that he does is just the worst. And yes, he's like raising Jemmy or Jeremiah or whatever the stupid baby's name is, like, and I think that that's great, but I also feel like the conflict that he has is overwrought. It's too much. You made the choice. You're done. Why is he constantly worried about whether or not it's his baby genetically? Like, just, you're done. You made the choice. You made the oath. Like, why are you keep going back to it so much?
I think it's also, and I'm just playing devil's advocate, I think it's also because people are telling him, oh, he looks like you. He looks like you. So they're putting that little thought in his head, because he's thinking in his head, this isn't mine. But you keep on telling me, like that woman said to him, he's big like his daddy.
Yeah, sure.
He's going to
be great.
And so I'm sure that's, a layer right there. And the fact that we find out Jamie is looking for Stephen Bonnet. So there's that underlying.
Because he's better than Roger.
Yeah.
He wants revenge.
That has been well established.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I honest to God thought you meant Stephen Bonnet.
I did not. I meant Jamie specifically. I wouldn't say that. All right. I'm not into the rapiness. Okay. Are there any other Diana-isms that you guys wanted to throw out there, or anything else you wanted to say?
I think this is the section where she uses the word, or this is the book where she uses alacrity a lot. I remember Heidi, who's not on the call, being like really annoyed by that. And I was like, every time I read it, I think I read it at least twice in this section. I was like, oh, this is the alacrity book.
I like to call this section Why Diana Why, because I feel like there are things that she describes that need no description, or indeed need not be in the book at all, right? I mean, there's just things. Okay, so she goes on about syphilis, and there's a kid that Brianna uses the R word to describe, which, I thought this book was written in 1996, so I was going to say it's okay, but it wasn't. It was written in 2001, and by 2001, we had already decided that the R word was not okay.
Had we?
Still in here.
I'm fine with Claire saying it, because Claire would still probably say it, or
But
Bree would
Brianna-
still say it. Bree would still say it.
I guess.
Yeah, it was the 60s.
Ugh,
Ish.
I hate it. Okay, so what? What were you gonna say?
Nothing.
I
was
don't
going
like
to
it.
say
I don't
nothing,
like it
promise.
at all.
So they start talking about the syphilitic kid, which I honestly could have gone like my whole life without knowing that children born with syphilis have. Let's see. The characteristic saddle nose with its pushed-in bridge, as well as a jaw so malformed that I wasn't surprised at his poor nutrition. He could barely chew. I couldn't tell how much of his evident backwardness was due to brain damage and how much to deafness. He appeared to have both. And she calls him a poor mite. I don't want to hear anything about this syphilitic child. I didn't need to know any of that. That is not necessary. Is Brianna going to have a syphilitic child at some point? Is this going to come back and bite us in the ass at other point? Or did she just want to throw in a description of a kid who was born with syphilis?
Yes, the latter.
Yeah.
Because there's so much in this section that doesn't move the narrative forward in any way. Which is, again, it boggles my mind that the editor, what kind of editing was done on this? Because Diana's going to sell a shit ton of these books, regardless of whether it's 1,000 pages or 750 pages. So does she have something in her contract where she's not subject to true editing?
Probably not.
Well, maybe
Because
she just
honest
wants
to God,
write it.
any other person would not go on for a page and a half about a baby's diaper and his boner and his grandparents flirting over his boner and comparing it to the grandfather's.
I think she knows her audience.
Yeah.
And I think there are hundreds of thousands of people that actually love it. They want to read it. They want to be in that world. And And I don't know that she's necessarily writing for them. I think Diana writes for herself.
Yeah.
This is her world.
Yeah.
And that's why you see her come through so much. And honestly, it's why I read her, because I like her world. I like what she's created. I think,
Yeah.
right on, sister. You're spending 2 years writing each of these. You can put whatever the hell you want on these pages. It's up to us whether or not we want to read it. But I don't think that I don't think there's any kind of grand scheme. I think that it's honestly, it's what she wants to do, and I'm fine with it. Obviously, I've read it 3.5 times already.
You've read this one 3 times?
At least.
Oh, heavens to Betsy. Well, did you know that diarrhea was also called squitters?
I did know that. I did, but I didn't want to seem overly smart. I didn't want to be a fiery cross know-it-all, so I've sort of just been hanging back.
Well, in the past couple of months, I have gone from thinking that diarrhea was only called squirts, capital T, capital S, to knowing that Irish people, thanks to Dairy Girls, call it scoots.
The scoots.
Scoots. Would you please quit talking about Aaron Scoots? We're trying to have our tea. And then now I know it's also called squitters. Squitters.
If you joined the military, you'd learn about 50 other words for it as well, but I digress.
I won't be doing that. But also squitters. So our very last portion of the night, if you could we're going to wish on a waterweed. By the way, this used to be called In the Waterweeds as a book club because only book people know what waterweed is because it wasn't in the first season, even though it should have been. So we're going to wish on a waterweed. Wish on a waterweed are the things in this book that need to go directly to the screen that probably won't, but should. So if you could wish on a waterweed, what scene, what phrase, what look from Jamie to whomever would go straight from book to screen in season 5?
I will start. I want to see the big hulking German woman make googly eyes at Jamie's ass.
And talk about how big he is.
And how she's a strong man. And then she's still in love with the shorty. I love it.
Yeah, and she says, well, what can you say? It's love or whatever.
Fucking love, cute. Right. Yeah. No, I loved it.
Yeah.
I would actually like to see Roger and Bree's, the wedding, but have, I kind of got teary-eyed where the Presbyterian minister was saying the vows and they were repeating the vows. And then everybody in the gathering, looked at all the couples looked at each other, kind of like that. Oh, I love you. I love you. And then it ended with Jamie and Claire. And I actually I appreciated that. I think that's great. I think that's a wonderful testament to love and enduring love.
Yeah, that was sweet.
Yeah.
Ending with Jamie and Claire is the important part of that.
That was great. That Roger and Bree's wedding ended with Jamie.
Yes, I don't want to see Roger and Bree. I want to see Jamie and Claire.
It's funny because the wedding of Fergus and Marsali, which I thought was one of the great moments of that season, in a season that was really kind of up and down and was more about sort of ocean special effects and let's use the black sail set and justify the fact that we're going to be in Cape Town for 3 months.
Yeah.
That scene actually was beautiful, not only because of the actors, but it to me, that's when I read The Fiery Cross again, that's how I saw the wedding. I suddenly harkened back to that show scene of that wedding. I was like, oh, this is sort of how I, in my head, had the Fiery Cross wedding. So I hope it's that same kind of intimacy. I agree with Julie. I think it is lovely. And the fact is, the whole book, this book in particular, is about the small moments. That's why it feels so long, right? There's not epic battle scenes. There's not a big prison breakout where Claire, decapitates a wolf with her pinky. I mean, none of that stuff is happening in this book. There aren't these huge mountaintop, bits of drama. And so that's why this book feels so different than the others, because it is about the small moments. And it's kind of like a day in the life, right? I don't even remember how many days it takes, not many, because it's Fiery Cross days, which of course means it's like dog years times 1,000, right? We've had this conversation, but it's those small moments I think are super important. And I think Diana actually does it really well. I hope the show does it well as well.
I had 2 moments. One is where Jamie's been leaning on the axe that he took from the pig lady. I really want to see him leaning on an axe head. I feel like that would be a very nice visual. And then take that all the way to where he tells Claire, did I ever tell you thank you? Thank you. And she says, for what? And he says, thank you for the bairns you gave me.
When he mentions he pluralizes bairns.
I know.
being
Oh, just slay me. Just murder me right now. I want to see that so badly. Like after a really special moment where they're like with Bree and maybe Fergus and Marsley too, and then like also Jimmy. Oh, give it to me. So I want to see that. And I really, after the trailer came out, and they have, you know, the trailer's always Claire's voiceover and these little like, you know, to stand for love, to stand for, you know, it has all these like punctuated moments in it or whatever that are meant to help tell the story of the entire season. And they're always like super generic. I really want the prologue in this season. It's beautiful. It's such a good, I'm reading it. I have lived through war and lost much. I know what's worth the fight and what is not. Honor and courage are matters of the bone. And what a man will kill for, he will sometimes die for too. And that, O kinsman, is why a woman has broad hips. That bony basin will harbor a man and his child alike. A man's life springs from his woman's bones, and in her blood is his honor christened. For the sake of love alone would I walk through fire again. Why are we bothering with other taglines, with other voiceovers? Why is the tagline not for the sake of love alone would I walk through fire again? That's beautiful.
And the fact that it ends with a woman with the broad hips, and the fact that Jamie, when he's called, like during that whole bonfire scene where he's calling like the Frasers, and he's like, oh, and then he ends with, here's to our women. And he ends with the women, like, here's to the women. And I was just like, hells yeah.
Yes. And I just understand, like, I think they used the prologue in season 3, exactly how it was written. And it was really beautiful then. Like, the prologues are great.
Yeah.
Like, I want to see this in the show really badly. I'm really mad that it's not like the whole trailer. It should have just been that.
Well, that's how they prepped. Was it season 1 or season? It was season 1. People disappear all the time.
Yes.
Like
yes.
what? I want to watch this immediately. Just starting with that. People disappear all the time. I was like, I'm hooked. Even if I've never read the books. Yeah.
And so this compelling. Is the same thing in Jamie's voice with this over war and over love montages, and like that's good trailer copy.
I'm concerned about the trailer though, because there was a lot of Bree chitter chatter.
Amy, I'm going to break it to you right now. Bree is played by Sophie Skelton, and she occasionally has lines.
God damn it. I still think we can Bree cast, and I am fine with it.
Did you just say Bree cast?
Yeah.
I love
as
Sophie.
in recast.
Karen, you smoke weed, and I'm going to tell the U.S. government that.
That is not true. That is not true.
You're taking one of Claire's things that she has under her skirt that they talk about.
I don't know what that is. I love Sophie. I don't care. I said it. There's my flag in the ground.
She's very pretty.
I think she's gotten better every.
When she doesn't have to speak, she's great.
She's great.
And I hope she's better this season.
Mm-hmm. I do think with The Gathering, I think The Gathering bugs me. Not bugs me is not the right word. This is my hellscape. Being cold and wet and damp and just having to sleep in it. Like when Bree and Roger fuck and then they're just laying there and it starts pissing rain. It's
dripping on their... I'm sorry, but tent sex, which is going to be a hashtag that is going to trend during this season, it's not fun. It's not fun.
Guys,
all over the world, it's not fun. And I guarantee you it wasn't fun in the 18th century.
I'm going to tell you right now.
You couldn't go to REI or Patagonia and buy all your good shit, okay?
No.
It was not fun. And I can tell you, nothing makes me want to have sex less than soaked canvas and the smell of rotting leaves.
I'm going to be honest. This season of The Gathering, I won't say the whole season, but definitely The Gathering is probably sponsored by Restoration Hardware.
Yep.
And there's not going to be any canvas tents.
Nope.
I'm telling you, it's going to be
sponsored by Magnolia Home.
Yeah, sponsored by Chip and Joe.
Shiplap tents.
The shiplap's already done by.
It's going to be gigantic tents with big posts and cedar wood roofs.
It's not going to smell like baby shit.
It's going to be a Pinterest wedding under a tent.
Yes.
Exactly. I will appreciate, though, Claire saying, like, I'm done with this. I want to go back to my house. I'm sick of people. I'm sick of, because that was me. See, like the whole wet, and I'm like, oh, that's gross. But also the notion of you're just never alone in this gathering. Like you never have that one moment of just like,
like the women's latrines being behind a row of juniper trees, or like the fact that she's wiping Jem with wet
leaves. Oh, or the fact that Jamie keeps inviting people to breakfast.
Oh, that pissed me off.
Stop it, Jamie.
Because they don't have to deal with the bullshit. Jamie doesn't have to figure out how to make 19 eggs go to 20 different people.
Exactly. Yeah. Or the sausages or anything like that. And there's Claire going like, okay, like literally she was doing math in her head. And like, Jamie.
Have to have stuff for the drive home, dumbass.
This is why we RSVP ahead of time.
Oh, I took a screenshot of this as I was reading. Oh, that was the lose the bowels thing. And wait, hold on. God damn it. Here it is. I have all these pictures of the hot.
I love you, Amy.
I have all these pictures of the hot dad from Dairy Girls on my phone. Fortunately, Jamie had brought plenty of food from Jocasta's camp, and I sat down at last to a pleasant meal of potato fritters, buttered bannocks, fried ham, blah, blah, blah. And at last, coffee, wondering what else might happen today. And this is 100 pages in.
Yep.
She hasn't even gotten her coffee yet.
No.
So much shit has happened, and she has not had a drop of coffee.
Nothing.
And
I
can't even take a shit without coffee in the morning. How is Claire?
I wonder, like, why would the gathering ever be worth it if this was the potential? I'm like, I'm good.
Claire has already set bones that morning, and she hasn't had anything to drink.
Nothing. That was horrible. It made me scared.
But then, like, speaking of setting bones, I would read chapters. I talk about Diana not having an editor. I would read chapters and chapters of just Claire treating randos, shotgun wounds.
Yeah, getting that guy's 20-year bullet out of his back.
I love that stuff.
I've had too much whiskey. What? He's got a bullet in his back from 20 years ago, and
it's
she's
made
gonna pop it out like Dr. Pimple Popper, and it's not a big deal. It's bananas.
Yeah. God.
There's a new show on. Have you seen it? It's all about the feet or something.
No, I will not.
It's a podiatry. It's like Dr. Pimple Popper, but for podiatry. And I will warn all of y'all: do not tweet about it or mention the word bunion, because there's this weird foot fetish people out there, and they will start filling up your DMs.
I've had enough. Had enough. That's enough.
Amy, I swear to God, girl, you are touched. I don't even know. You are right there.
Thank you. Goodness. All right. Well, apparently The Bachelor is on tonight, and our good friend Heidi is doing all of that. And so if you're watching The Bachelor, hang tight on Twitter and talk to Heidi about that, because Hangoutlander is over, you guys. Thank you for being here with us. Next week, we're doing this every week forever now. Like, we're going to maybe get a week off because we're going to do the book, and then the show is going to start on February the 16th. So Monday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, come back here for Hangoutlander. Next week, we're reading parts 2, 3, and 4. And I know that sounds like a lot, but I tried to chop up the book into good chunks. And that was the best chunk I could come up with. It's not that much more than what you read today. So parts 2, 3, and 4 for next week. Read it with us. Thank you for hanging out with us on Twitter. I'm sorry we didn't get to talk to you guys a lot, but we're doing a new format, and it was just a little bit more difficult. So thank you for being here. Everybody say goodbye.
Don't come next week. Watch Clemson beat LSU in the national championship.
Come next week so I'm not alone. No, come next week so I'm not alone. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Toodles.